Happy Fri-YAY, friends! Well, I know how much you all love fancy fun folds, and so I've got a great DSP fun fold for you today using the new Nature Symphony stamp set and dies and the paper that coordinates. So I can't wait to share it with you. Let's get started. Here is the stamp set, Nature Symphony, and these awesome dies that go with it. I love when we have textures and foliage. Oh my gosh, so pretty. And then of course it has coordinating DSP called Nature Walk, and look at some of these beautiful prints. They are watercolor. I mean, they really look like artist papers, right? So we're going to use some of this today to make a super fun fold that is easy and a great way to use some of our DSP. So let me share it with you. Isn't that just stunning? I love it. So let's make this today. It's going to be really fun. You're going to love it, and you're going to love how using the 12 by 12 DSP comes in such handy for this type of a fold. So remember, you can always find measurements for all of my projects, my weekly projects, on my blog at stampinqueenbee.com. You can also sign up there to be part of my weekly Buzz Bulletin, which is my free email newsletter that I email out each week to subscribers. And when you're part of that, you actually will get a free PDF printable tutorial dropped right to your mailbox with all the measurements, pictures, and step-by-step instructions, so you can just watch and enjoy instead of having to write it all down. All right, so let's move this to the side and let's start with our DSP mechanism here. So I picked this printed paper. I think it's just beautiful, right? It could go with so many things. And I love this pretty kind of vintage writing that's on the side. So let's go ahead and open up our trimmer here, and we're actually going to cut this down, and we're going to cut it a couple of ways and do some scoring. So we're going to cut it at 3.5 all the way across. And remember, you don't have to write any of this down, but just so you have it there. And then at 8 3/4. So those are our two cuts. And then we're going to score it on this left side. So we're going to score it at 1 inch from this left side. And remember, it's DSP, so you don't want to push too hard there, right? You just want to give it a nice light score. And then we're going to score it again at 4 inches. And just a nice light score. So you probably can't see it on camera, but I can feel it. And so then what I will do is just fold. Well, maybe I didn't quite score that one enough. Let's see. I was trying to be so careful, right? Okay, there we go. Now that's a little better. Okay, so we're just gonna fold that. And normally I would use my bone folder, but because, might as well do the other one. Because this is DSP, I like to just fold this with my hands so that we don't over crease it. We don't want our paper to tear, right? So that is how we're gonna fold it, and that is the mechanism to make our fun fold today. So remember, when you're scoring this, you want to make sure that this, whatever print that you want on the inside of your card, that is facing up to you when you're doing the scoring. Otherwise, if I would have done it this way, it could have been like this. We don't want our writing upside down. So especially on directional DSP, you want to make sure that it is facing up, whatever you want on the inside. And those directions are all on the tutorial. I just wanted to make sure we pointed that out. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in some liquid glue. And this little flap here, we're just going to add a little bit of glue and fold that over on itself. Just going to hold it there a second. And that is our folded fun fold, right? So then we need some pieces here. So I've got some crumb cake. This is going to be our flat card base here. And then we're going to put a layer on that is some basic white that I have went ahead and embossed. And isn't that just beautiful? So I dry embossed that with our Stone and Vine embossing folder. I think it's kind of an unsung hero because look how beautiful that looks, right? So that is what I did. So we're going to go ahead and add this to our card base back. And just go ahead and put that right on. Easy peasy, right? And then our next piece, we're going to go ahead and that mechanism we made, that will become our card opening. So we'll just go ahead and adhere just this back side. And usually I close this up. That way I can make sure it's centered right on our card base there. Okay, we've got it. That's the basic of our card, right? Now we just get to do some fun decorating. So I've got some linen thread here. And I'm going to do this before we do the next part because you want to make sure you have this on ahead of time. So I'm just going to take this and wrap it around. I love that this will then show through my card when it's opened. So I love to see that. If you don't love to see that, you could hide it behind maybe this piece before you close it up, or you could put a piece of cardstock or DSP or something right behind that. So then I'm just going to take my ends here, and anytime I tie thread, you'll hear me say this, I like to first tie it in a knot. Just tie it in a knot there, and then I'll tie my bow. So that way if my bow ever was to come undone, no big deal, it's got a knot, and so like the card wouldn't fall apart, right? And then I'm just gonna adjust my loops. There we go. And let's just grab our snips and trim this off. And I kind of liked the tails a little bit longer than usual on this one for what we're gonna do next. So now let's do some stamping, right? Gotta do some stamping. Okay, so I'm gonna move this to the side. I'm going to bring in a piece of grid paper here, and we've got our stamps. So my favorite in this one is this background stamp, this kind of texture. And then we're also going to use You Make Me Smile. So I've got crumb cake ink here and that texture piece, and we're going to stamp a few things. So let's grab our inside layer and we'll stamp that first. So for this one, we're going to do the edge here. So we're going to stamp the edge, then we're going to ink it up and stamp it off so it's a little bit lighter, and we're going to stamp it again. So do you see that texture we're creating? So then we're going to overlap them a little and stamp it full strength, stamp it off. There you go. Ink it up again. Overlap that just a tad. And there we have kind of this edging detail. So this will poke out from the side of our card. So that's super pretty, right? And then we'll put that in a second. Let's bring in a scrap piece of basic white. We're going to ink up our sentiment here. Oops, we're going to use Early Espresso. I was thinking that looks sure light. Early Espresso here. And we're just going to stamp that down. And then through magic of YouTube, we're going to hand cut that out. So you're just going to hand cut that out. I did that today just to save us a bit of time. But this is an easy one to hand cut out because there's not a lot of parts and pieces to it, right? Okay, so we're done with our Early Espresso. And now I've got this die cut piece. So this is one of the dies in our beautiful die set, this big one here. And so I actually die cut this piece out of some specialty paper. So this goes with the suite, but this is called Natural Hues. You can see it's sort of like a linen paper. You see all the fibers in there, so it's really, really pretty. And we're gonna do some stamping on this. So now I've got my crumb cake again with that same texture stamp that we stamped for the inside. And I'm gonna stamp it off, and we're gonna add texture to our leaves here. Just really adds, and you can kind of turn it a bit, just really adds some extra. Let me zoom in here. You can see it really adds some extra to just the plain die cut leaf, right? So we'll just finish this up, and we're gonna just kind of do all the leaves here. There we go. And this last one here. So now we've taken our die cut, that beautiful paper, and just given it a little bit of extra pizzazz, right? Do you see how it just kind of gives it extra texture and brings it to life? So we've got that. Now this piece is the negative, right? We're not going to use that today, but it makes a gorgeous stencil because of, you know, especially this thicker paper, but because of the pretty die cuts, you could take blending brush over that. So save that piece when you're doing this, because you can use that as a great extra piece. And then I also die cut this kind of tree bark die. That's this one here from Early Espresso. So we'll use that here in a second. And then I wanted to point out this really neat die here. So we aren't using it today, but it's a super fun way to add texture to paper. So it doesn't actually cut anything out, but it die cuts that texture onto your project. So a super fun die there as well. Okay, so let me close up my ink pad here. I want to stick my finger in it, right? And let's build this card, the rest of this card. So let's first do our inside piece here. So we're just going to add some liquid glue there. Pop that on the inside. And I love how this texture just peeks through when our card is closed. So you can still write your message inside. It's hidden behind there, but oh, how pretty that is, just kind of tucked behind. And then I'm going to bring in my snips here. And this die by itself was just a bit big, right? So what I did was I actually gave it a little bit of, what do we call it? Paper surgery here, and just did one snip along this leaf here. So it just kind of pulls that branch apart. And then we'll just take our liquid glue here and add just a little bit to each of these leaves. You could use adhesive sheets, but with this type of die, it has these little kind of leaf vein holes in it, and so the adhesive sheets sometimes poke through that. So I put my linen thread on first because I want to adhere these leaves over that, and it just kind of holds that linen thread in place. So we got that one. Now this one, same thing. We're just going to add a tiny bit of liquid glue there, and then this one we're going to poke it out. Just gonna kind of tuck that under this leaf here, and it's okay if it pokes out a little bit from that side. So it sort of covers that piece, but I love that you just kind of see the DSP poking through a bit. So pretty, right? So, so pretty. Then let's grab our Stampin' Dimensionals here, and we're gonna first put our sentiment onto this tree bark, we'll call it, this tree bark die cut. And we'll just center that right on there. And it can really go either way, but we're just going to go ahead and center this on. Perfect, right? And we'll take another couple of dimensionals and add those right on the back here. And these are going to be added just to this left side because this right side is going to hang off of our card here. So usually what I do is I just take my fingers, so I know that's the edge there. And so I want to put that over to the left where that's centered. And then I just make sure that there's no dimensionals poking out there. Beautiful, beautiful. So you can also add some of the little leaf die cuts if you want. You could do some extra stamping. I think we're gonna leave this one like that. I think this would be a perfect masculine card. You Make Me Smile could be anything, right? That could be a thinking of you. That could be a happy birthday. We could stamp happy birthday inside. All kinds of things. And then I'm gonna use these embellishments, streaked dot embellishments here. And we're actually gonna put 5 of these on. So let's take 2 of these embellishments and put them here to the left. Because this is a peek through, right? We could actually include our embellishments on the inside because they'll show from the inside and the outside. Kind of a dual benefit there, right? We'll put 1 over here and let's grab another. Ooh, that one jumped. Another 2 and put them kind of on this top left. So we've got 5 total. And how beautiful of a finished card is that? Such an easy fun fold, right? Such an easy fun fold. So we've got the inside and the outside there to our beautiful card. You Make Me Smile. Absolutely, each and every one of you does make me smile for sure. So again, here is my blog, stampingqueenbee.com, if you want any of the measurements for any of the projects today. You can also find my past ones on my blog as well. You can just search if you're looking for something specific. All right, well, let me flip back over here. There we go. And just say thank you again for watching, for liking, subscribing. It absolutely makes the biggest difference to me that you are here and that you share me with your crafty friends. So have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.